responsible in keeping you from falling down, you big dumb son of a bitch.
5, 4, 3.
Fuck it. There's no words on it. Fuck it. We'll do it live. Fuck it.
I've never seen that.
Fucking thing sucks.
There's no words there.
Fuck it. There's no words on it. Fuck it. We'll do it live. Fuck it.
I've never seen that.
Fucking thing sucks.
There's no words there.
I don't know. Fuck. I don't know. Fuck. I don't know. Fuck. I don't know. Fuck. I don't know. What?
Go.
I can't do it. Fuck it.
Go.
I can't do it. Fuck it.
Go.
I can't do it. Fuck it.
Go.
I can't do it.
Thanks again for watching.
Fuck it.
There's no words on it.
Fuck it. We'll do it live. Fuck it.
I've never seen that.
Fucking thing sucks.
There's no words there.
Fuck it.
There's no words on it.
Fuck it. We'll do it live. Fuck it.
I've never seen that.
Fucking thing sucks.
There's no words there.
Okay, ready?
Take it away.
Go.
Yeah. Go. Yeah. Go. Yeah.
Fuck it. We'll do it live.
Go. Yeah. Go. Yeah. Go. Yeah.
Fuck it. We'll do it live. Fuck it.
Go.
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 Fuck it.
Go. What does that mean? To play us out?
Fuck it.
To end the show? Yeah.
What the fuck is up, everybody? Okay, it's working. What's up, everybody? Welcome, Dark Horse Live, episode 29. Yeah. Shout out to the Denver fucking Nuggets, huh? Shout out to Jamal Murray. All right, real quick. If you're here early, you already know what we do on this show. Right out the gate, Drainos. So this is dedicated to Jamal Murray, who was draining nothing but fucking net all fucking weekend. But yeah. Drainos, 12-pack, kitchen sink to Thanos, kitchen sink number 2.
The 2 test at 30.
You can't read it. It's all right. Trust me. That's what it says. Yeah. Kitchen sink number 2 is testing at like 30%.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. One to look at. How about free shit email going across your screen? Let me get it going. There it's going across your screen. darkhorsegeneticslive@gmail.com. We'll give away 3 packs. The 15th, the 30th, and the 45th person. And to win, you just got to put Drainos in the Drainos, DRANOZ, in the subject line of the email. We'll pick the 15th, 30th, 45th person, and you'll win. All right, that's 1 pack down. Let's do something new. Caesar gave me some seeds. Caesar's going to drop some seeds. You have to get on him exactly what they are. I think he's keeping it all a giant secret. But if you want to know what's up with Caesar's secret release, you got a name on these, or are you just going green dot, orange dot?
That's how I'm coding them for now, so I know exactly.
It's all a giant fucking secret. But if you know Caesar, you know it's probably no bullshit. So we got a green dot, and we got an orange dot. I'm going to defer to you, Caesar. What do you want? One of each, sure, obviously?
One now, one towards the end.
Which one do you want to do, green or orange?
Orange.
Orange up first. What do they got to do to win? darkhorsegeneticslive@gmail.com. What number person?
25th.
25th person, Caesar says. And what do you got to write, Caesar, in the subject line?
GMO is God.
GMO is God. Oh, my God. We gave this guy control for just 1 second, and look what he's fucking doing already. All right. There's 2 packs. I don't even know what it is, honestly. It's fucking secret from me. So, yeah, you're going to have to bug him to get the details on Caesar's free shit, man. But cool. What are we going to talk about tonight? Tonight, I'm excited we have in-studio guests, so I can actually sit here and smoke weed, and looks like hash, among other things. But I'm going to welcome the boys from Sappy. Sappy has been, buddies of ours for a long time. I guess pretty much almost since their inception. But yeah, they've been loyal tenants of the lab in the back of the warehouse or whatever. So I figure, we're going to talk rosin. We'll bring these guys on and talk rosin. And they're the first hash guys we've asked to come on this show that didn't fucking cancel. So, hey. All right, I'll bring him in. All right, everybody, without further ado. In the middle, you've got Mr. Sappy Brands himself. What do you want me to call you? Your real name, your online handle?
I could be John.
Just John.
Yeah.
This is John, Sappy Brands right here. And then right next to him, we've got Mason. These guys are Sappy. So Sappy Brands, non-solvent extracts in Denver, Colorado. Known for, I would say, rosin, but they also do carts and all kinds of other shit or whatever. But everybody we bring on the show, we always ask them right off the gate, like, I guess I'll start with you, John. Tell us just 1 minute version or briefly, where are you from? What was the first time you smoked weed? What strain was it? And I guess since you're hash guys, you remember the first time you ever smoked hash, and you know what strain that was. But a quick bio of your youth or whatever, where you from, and where you came from.
For sure. Yeah, thanks for having us on.
Sure. I'll have you pull that closer to your face, the mic or whatever. Just get right in there so all of our audio levels are the same, or scoot up or pull that even closer to the whole thing will pull out.
How's that?
Yeah, way better. There you go.
Dope. Yeah, I'm from here in Colorado. Grew up not far from Longmont area. First time I ever smoked weed, I would have been about 14, and I'll always remember it because it was Halloween that year, and I was wearing a gorilla suit. I didn't have the mask on, but I had the body of
You
the
remember
gorilla
that?
suit on.
I remember the gorilla suit part, right?
Yeah, so I was real spun. I think I'd actually maybe smoked once before that, but I didn't get high. But
Classic story.
Oh,
Yeah,
for sure.
Do you remember the strain at all? I always ask everybody. No one ever remembers, but was it just swag, like
it was
beasters?
pretty swag. I mean, there was like early on, I was getting some decent weed from people who probably had decent connects, but there's also some straight brick weed back then. And
Sure.
it was I think it was some brick. Like,
Okay, yeah.
man, it smelled good.
Started with the brick.
It smelled okay. I gotta say, like as compared to like loud weed now, it was like super skunky and super loud.
What about hash? Do you recall your first time ever smoking hash? Probably bubble or
Yeah.
some sort of finger or hash of
The
some
first
sort.
dab I ever, the first time I
dab.
ever took a hash was in a dab. That was the perfect time frame growing up to be 18 or so when dabs were new. So my buddy gave me some like probably crappy BHO crumble or something like that.
Sure.
And oh my god, I
Like
had
the
never.
first time you ever got high.
Oh,
kinda?
exactly. It's all
Totally.
over. So you're like, wow. So this exists.
So that was a landmark moment, I'm sure, for you.
Yeah, and it was still a long time before I really delved into the
Like making hash and
yeah,
getting
and,
serious
and
about
yeah,
hash.
and the connoisseurship behind it, and just how much there is to it. you
Yeah,
know?
yeah. Well,
It's-
that brings me over to Mason. Mason, first time you ever smoked weed, where are you from? How'd you get here briefly?
So first time I guess I ever smoked weed was probably 8th grade summer or so in the back of the school back in South Dakota. I'm from Sturgis, South Dakota. Yeehaw. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Good old motorcycle rally, 4 blocks from Main Street. Yeah. So, and I moved out. I don't remember exactly what strain it was, and it was South Dakota, so you really don't. It was kind of just whatever you got. I think they told me it was Blue Dream, but I have no idea anymore.
Sure. What about hash? Remember the first time you smoked hash?
The first time I smoked hash, I honestly don't. I remember the nail I used. It was one of those big old metal nails that just you had to burn the crap out of it and torch it all the way and just take it super hot.
Okay, totally.
But no, I moved here at 19 and then turned 21 and started working for the dab, and then been with those guys ever since until they finally got a solventless division.
Gotcha. I always ask these guys, ask both of you guys, whatever. I always ask people, I don't know why I ask them, but what kind of person were you as a youth? I always stereotype you in one way. Were you a jock? Were you a stoner? Were you like what? Are you the opposite of what you are now, or whatever? If you could classify yourself like in high school, what were you?
No, I definitely had that the stoner vibe. I mean, yeah, long hair, went a little while without shoes, longboarding for everywhere. Yeah, definitely
Gotcha.
the hippie.
What about you, John?
I was a little bit of both. I was kind of the jock, early high school, but I don't know. I mean, honestly, all of high school, 14 and on, I was like, oh, this weed shit's pretty cool. I
So
think I might just do that.
heady mix of everything going on.
Yeah.
Healthy competition between sports and getting high.
Oh, yeah.
Gotcha. Cool. Well, that brings me to Sappy and Rosin. But I want to ask you guys because let's first be very clear. I don't know fuck all about hash. I'm not the hash guy or whatever. So you guys are the experts in my opinion as far as hash. Like I don't know shit. So I got plenty of questions. But yeah, I'm gonna learn right along with this audience, I suppose, or whatever. But one question I had, and this is probably a stupid question, but do we know who the first guy to ever make rosin is? Like, was there a guy who's been credited with like, I'm the guy that busted out the Revlon, I smashed the hair straightener, like I did this shit, and everyone, you know what I mean, like sort of followed suit? Or for the best of your knowledge, what's the origin of like people making rosin?
So there's two answers to that.
Okay.
The short answer is the way that we all smoke it now, the preparation everybody likes, it's got to be soil grown. At least the story that's told is that he was the one. We were all sitting there. This is some water hash. And we were all doing this with our water hash, where we would just slab it out like this. And if you were going to squish it into rosin, we would still prep it like this. It wouldn't look so oily. It was more contaminant in there.
Mm-hmm.
So when you would press that, that would help you get it prepped to go into like whatever bag or whatever filter you're going to press it through. Soil grown accidentally got his hair straightener too hot, so the legend goes. And as he did that, he saw around the little contaminant patty in the middle, all the oils had seeped away or tried to escape the heat of the press.
Just being close to it.
Yeah, and they all deposited around the rest of the hash, which was kind of like a puck of contaminant that looked dry. So he was the one who saw that and was like, huh, maybe there's something to that. And then from there, you just put it on you put a filter around that hash. Who knows what kind of filter he used, maybe a coffee filter even. But yeah, that's what they say. That's where they say the modern tech was born.
I'm not even familiar with that name, Soil Grown. So this is a forum handle, a name, or somewhere? Is it from Instagram?
I first saw him on Instagram.
Instagram? Is he still out there? Soil Grown on Instagram?
Oh, yeah. I can't remember what state he's out in. Ken
Wall.
Ken was one of the guys who was exchanging tech with him, just kind of talking about it online. I don't even know if they've met in person, but yeah, Ken was the one who taught me a lot of stuff I learned in my early days of hash.
Sure, and that's kind of what was one of my next questions is can kind of explain to these guys how you got into making hash and then working, within the industry or whatever, if you will. Like, how did you become? I'll say this much. I do know about the hash business, particularly the rosin business or the non-solvent business. It's a motherfucker out there. Like, it is hard as shit. I've seen people come and go through our lab that have failed miserably because, other reasons. Some of them pieces of shit or whatever the fuck. But regardless, we've had many people come and go, and the rosin business is all about the material that you get. I would say Ken Wall's a name that stands out. Nicotine's a name that stands out. 710's a name that stands out. Sappy's a name that stands out. But I could literally count them on one hand, the number of good hash makers, or good non-solvent hash makers that actually are, putting out a brand within the industry, because it's fucking brutal. And I guess that was a long question, but yeah, if you will, go into how you got into making hash. You know what I mean?
For sure. It's been a long, crazy ride. That's for sure. It was for both Mason and I think I could speak for both of us, that it's never what you expect. And it's one of those burgeoning industries that's got so much happening all at once that you're constantly exposed to a new challenge, a new hurdle. I got my start back right when I was 21 as well. We got the badge. That was the requirement, is you got to be 21 to get a badge. And
were you making hash obviously underage, but before you were allowed to get a badge, if you will, or whatever? Because you get a card at 18. So
we had messed with open blasting and stuff that we just saw on the forums, and it was way more just smoking hash. We were just buying stuff at dispensaries, learning all the different textures, mostly from buying it at the time.
Sure. Did you come into the business as a BHO hash maker, or was that kind of the only thing around?
No, yeah, that was just all we were smoking on. But by the time I finally was 21, I was finally starting to see and hear about non-solvent. I didn't even know what it was. I would see pictures and videos of these dudes out on the West Coast who would post these melt shots on the Halen honey holes, which was a type of quartz banger, I don't know, 5-6 years ago. And maybe 7-8 years ago now. Anyway, these guys the hash looked crazy. It was just something I had never seen compared to the kind of dabs we were doing. And this was all when red hot dabs were slowly being realized to be the bad way to dab. Everybody was, and when people were preaching you should go low temp with it, then other people would say, oh, you're wasting it. And nobody knew what the hell they were doing yet.
Right.
So we were I was steady working myself up through trimmer jobs and harvesting jobs, and I've worked numerous places around Denver.
I don't know if you want to name drop anywhere or whatever, but how many shops or how was sort of your path? Do you know?
Yeah,
Or do you want to mention? You don't have to if you don't want to.
Oh, well, the only one that I mean, there's no more that I can really discuss was Cam, and it was a
Oh, you worked at Cam?
it was a controversial thing in its day.
I didn't know you worked at Cam. You were making hash for Cam?
No, it was something that was the line, that was the direction things were headed, but everything came to a halt.
Right. So anybody that doesn't know what Cam is, Cam was a dispensary in South Broadway in Denver, and they got shut down for photoshopping a license. Yeah, that
I was just
everybody was taking a stone like.
I was just
God,
a lowly
like-
trimmer. I for sure actually had no idea any of that shit was going
Sure.
on. I didn't even know that was the licenses, any of this compliance shit that you learn as you go through the industry and the regulatory end of it. And
Sure.
I didn't know any of that, so I was floored that you could just out of nowhere have your entire operation gone. You're done. You broke the rules. That's it.
Were you there when that shit went down?
No, I was actually off that day. And
Oh, but you
I
were
got
still
the
working
call.
there
Oh
technically.
yeah, I was still employed there. I was getting ready to go trim the next day, and I got the call.
None of the employees had any idea that that shit wasn't a real license on the wall.
Dude, I don't think so.
Wow.
I can't speak much on it because I
Sure.
wasn't involved. But like,
Well, yeah, that wasn't the show we were gonna do tonight. But whoa, no, okay.
yeah, crazy shit. Anyway, so I started there, and it was a prestigious place because it was a great, verified collection of genetics, and it was, as somebody who was young and wanted to be around the plant, being around that kind of stuff was the kind of stuff that you're actually seeing the real thing, if that makes sense. So I would be like, oh, this is this cut of OG, or this is what haze looks like and what diesel looks like. Like all that stuff is super valuable to learn as a grower, as a hash maker, and so there was a bunch. I got to see all the coolest stuff, and it was all rugs taken out from under you at once.
Sure.
So it was a crazy first experience.
So how did you get into pressing or whatever?
4 or 5 more places. Just by the end of Cam, I was like, they were trying to get a non-solvent operation going. So I was like, okay, this stuff's cool. Still didn't know how to do it. Get a job from my buddy over on the west side of Denver. End up meeting Kenwall, who the summer before, I had started growing, and I hadn't ever produced any solventless myself. One buddy of mine actually had used a little bit of fresh frozen trim that I grew in a tent in my college house, and it did okay. I got some water hash off of it, and we were already melting the stuff on the honey holes. It was basically full melt, maybe 5-star by today's standards. Anyways, the job where I met Ken was over on the west side of Denver there, and Ken was super experienced. He had washed some of my subsequent crop on just from my home stuff. So when I saw this guy, I was like, oh, you remember me from a year ago? We did some work together. He's like, oh yeah, for sure. And he was just starting his non-solvent operation with a company over there, and it was just luckiest break ever. And I was all of a sudden the apprentice. So that was a very long-winded story, but that
I got you. So roundabout way, you learn from Kenwall. You know what I mean?
100%.
Who's a great hash maker or whatever. He's got probably many apprentices. I think he's done many seminars and other shit like that or whatever. So Kenwall's a great guy or whatever. Let me lean over to you, Mason. How about your entry into the industry or whatever, if you will? So you turn 21 and you get a badge, or 19, I guess, move out here. So how do you get in here?
So like I said, come from South Dakota. The plan was always just to learn what I can and take it back there eventually, just because I love it back there. It's a lot like here up in the mountains.
There's a lot
of smaller scale.
A lot of guys like you that came to Colorado to soak up the knowledge, the skills, learn everything they can and bring it back to their home base or whatever, which is cool.
It was either here, California, and I was like, here's way closer, 6 hours back to home. I can drive that. So turned 21, and I just put an application in for something on Craigslist, and it happened to be the Dab over on Alameda, and I started trimming with them for probably 2 years or so, always waiting for my opportunity to get into the grow side, and then eventually that came, and I grew for probably 3 more years or so. No, probably 2.5. And then from there, I was introduced to concentrates, and then I was like, I want to start making this. I want to learn how to do this, and I always pushed for we should have a concentrate division. We should make in-house concentrates with all the stuff that we grow here. And thankfully that happened. Kenwall and John came in and started up Sappy, and I was like, I want to be the person that goes over there and either packages for them or does anything that I can just to get on that side of it. And so that's what happened. I got really lucky there and went over and learned under the best in the business. I
So
think.
essentially, when you came in, you didn't know shit about like squishing or anything. You were
Nothing.
just
No,
like,
I was
I'm a blank
blown
slate.
away by everything. Yeah, I had no idea what went into it. I thought I did, and it was completely opposite of what I thought.
Gotcha. All right. Well, now we know how you guys got here. Let's talk about hash. Couple of questions I have is why is non-solvent better than BHO or hydrocarbon? I have a personal opinion on this, and I'll just say it tastes fucking way better. That's it. You know what I mean? Like, there's many things beyond that. You're not smoking any butane or any residuals, but I think it tastes better. But I'm gonna ask you guys: do you have a definitive answer, or what's your personal opinion on that question? Is it better, or why? Do you think it's better than BHO?
Yes, but I don't think that objectively it has a lot of qualities that make it superior. I just prefer it. I think I have an emotional attachment to it, but I love good BHO.
Totally. I mean, fire hash is fire hash.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I'm with you there. What about you, Mason? You thinking?
It's the taste and how it feels on my lungs, and I mean, I definitely like the BHO, the fire stuff. I will pay top dollar for that to get some of the tastiest stuff I've ever had. But this is just easier on me. And I definitely like the taste more, and I make it. So I mean,
Gotcha.
that's another big thing for me is making the thing.
Yeah,
Really,
if you understand how you make it, do it in and out.
Exactly.
Obviously, you guys probably test your own products, so there's that. Let me ask you this, and this is probably another dumb fucking question, but why do you guys use bubble to press rather than weed in like bags? Because I remember weed or stuffing bags, like little bubble bags or whatever, and then they were squishing the bags or whatever, freezing those, dry ice freezing those. I've seen
With the flour?
Yeah, with the flour, and then
Right.
squishing the flour raw. I mean, but now, I shouldn't say now. It seems like it's always been. But why? I guess you're using a concentrated material to squish, so you get a higher return, obviously, or something. But explain to me why you guys generally use bubble to squeeze or squish rather than just a raw flour.
So the main reason for sure is terps, the short answer. And the reason is that when you squish from flour, if you try to squish wet flour, like live, fresh flour, you'd obviously just get a bunch of water because it's very waterlogged when
Moisture.
you harvest. If you dry it all the way down, your terp profile changes massively. Lots of the compounds kind of shift and degrade or are influenced by those kind of breaking down of compounds. A lot of the chlorophyll and stuff in the bud will slowly shift if you cure your stuff properly anyway. That
Right.
difference in profile that you get from the dry stuff versus the live profile that you get on a plant that's still got all the water in it, that's still on the plant. Basically, it's the difference between the way the resin smells on your finger from some dry bud or right off the plant.
Gotcha. And
And
it's
then-
always fire off the
And
plant.
the flavor translates, I'd say, a lot. When you squish dry material, the flavor can be really great. And it is a different profile because it's dry, but it's generally not as terpene rich. It doesn't coat your mouth like you can get like straight candy or straight crazy savory terps with hash.
Gotcha. What tech question? What press do you guys use? What plates do you use? I know this is like a big deal. There's a million companies out there.
Yeah, there's a lot of good ones.
Yeah. So do you guys have any preference? Are you sponsored or?
low temp all the way. I mean, we had
That's the name of the company, Low Temp.
yep,
Yeah,
Okay.
Low temp.
low
Yeah,
temp presses.
yeah, they're our homies. They're right here in town.
We had a Rosin Evolution when
Or
we
no,
first started
Peer
there.
Pressure.
We had a peer pressure when
Those
we
things are
first
great.
started there, and it was really nice. But the low temp is way more portable. It's simpler. It's easy to use, and it's really simple to use. And
Yeah, straight up there, one of those machines. It's
Is there a secret temperature, or is it common industry knowledge? Like you squish at this temp.
people are pretty split on it. You
Yeah.
see a lot of the biggest names out there right now pressing very low, and that's a selling point for them. A lot of this stuff will butter really quickly. The lower it's squished, the more prone it is to nucleating quickly. Some stuff will just butter right off the press. Like, it's hard to collect because it's literally just a butter now. But that leads kind of into the whole new jam tech and rosin batter tech thing, where like that's a way to work around those unsavory dry butter textures. That's
Gotcha.
not a texture anybody really wants with their rosin these days.
Well, that's another one of my like elementary questions is like, talk to me about textures because I don't really get it. Rosin used to come out looking like sold in square pieces, similar to the parchment we have on the display here or whatever, where it would be like almost looking like a piece of shatter.
Right.
You know what I mean? But then it got into soupier stuff or whatever. Yeah, go ahead and push some more in there, Mason.
Batter.
The camera should readjust.
There it is.
There's a little batter in there or whatever. But yeah, you've got different textures. Is there a superior texture? Is there a texture generally considered shit or whatever? Talked a little bit about textures. There's pens. So you guys have gotten this into a liquid, essentially, type of form, but you're not cutting it with anything. So I'm very interested in how you can have a stable material, a soupy material, a shatter type looking material, a liquid type material. But yeah, please go ahead and explain any of that.
Yeah, so the texture really, it varies because it's depending on what the user's looking for in the end product. A lot of people think that the fresh press, like right off the press, without doing anything to it, is just the best flavor. I'm pretty inclined to agree. I mean, if you do a pretty low temp press on some super nice terpy hash, it's going to be really terpy the second it's off the press and it hasn't had any time or exposure to elements to be losing compounds or off-gassing terps. It's not really the correct form of talking about the volatilizing, but hash is a super volatile substance. So
it changes the moment it is exposed to air after you squish it, essentially, is kind of what
and
you're saying?
It can be really slow. It can be really fast. It's so dependent, like I was saying, about press temperature, just strain, press duration, amount of pressure used. Basically, it's just as crazy as washing and growing, where like every little bit of the process, it's so simple, but at the same time, it's like you can get so deep into it. Like
Matters so much, or one little thing can fuck up the entire process or whatever.
Exactly. So with that, all the textures, when you go towards, since it's not so stable, that's why the batters are pretty hot, because it gives you something that will actually be stable by making it. You're making it into mashed potato rosin, basically. You're taking all the compounds and the cells and any integrity of the structures left from the squish, which it's already been pulverized trichome heads, pushed through turned into a liquidy gel, strained through a mesh screen, and then from there it retains more integrity because of the films and fiber. It's not fiber. It's kind of trying to think of the word for like a meniscus around the rosin. It's almost like a skin. If you let it get halfway buttered, like it'll be kind of rigid in parts and then totally chipping through in other parts.
Okay.
So once again, that's why people went towards the sort of batter or deconstructed texture, because that it sits at a more stable texture and it won't change much more. It can dry out still,
Right.
but it
Once you've pressed it, again, my elementary questions here from me, but once you've pressed it, do you then apply heat, like within an oven? I know you don't need a vac oven because you're not purging out butane or anything like that, but I guess somebody's probably try to fuck with a vac oven out there, but do you put it in an oven or then you put it immediately to like cold? Are you trying to get it into like a freezer right away, or not a freezer, but a chilled, wine cooler or something or whatever the fuck?
Yeah, so if you were trying to keep it that fresh pressed texture, you can totally just stick it straight into a fridge or freezer, and that'll maintain it for longer. Obviously, the colder you put it, the longer it'll maintain that fresh texture. But it's also, if you're trying to go for a batter or something that resembles more of a jam, which is like a further step than, it's almost a partial decarboxylation of the hash that induces a different physical state. That's kind of
Similar to how they make THCA diamonds kind of thing is what you're talking about right now? Or what?
That's actually, they're similar because they both involve more exposure to heat, but the jam tech definitely generally requires more heat.
Gotcha.
But so that you can put it in an
Jeez.
oven after you press it.
You close that door, all the crickets and shit just started going.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's
how
weird.
That was out of
It
nowhere.
was literally like the second the cricket started. There you go.
Nice.
Um,
I wanted to say I totally spaced. I was thinking about it earlier. I said there was two origin stories to rosin.
yeah.
I only said the one. I
Okay,
said the
yeah,
soil
what-
grown one. So that's like the modern. That led to all
Widely
this rosin
believed,
batter
right.
stuff. Well, it's totally the case because it was rediscovered. I hear guys that are in their 40s or maybe even 50s, like that are big time stoners. They're like, oh, back in college we did that shit. They're like, we would take a double boiler and they had the gross black hash they would get back in the day from whatever kind of process they got it from, and they would push it up against the edge of a double boiler just in the pot and get it pretty damn hot but not burning it. And the same damn thing would happen. Oils would start leaching off and dripping into the bowl in the double boiler off of this black hash. And that was OG rosin tech. They were using the heat to separate the volatile and the desirable compounds off of the less refined kind of Moroccan style or whatever it was.
right,
dark
but no
brown and-
squish, just the heat.
Exactly.
Okay.
And the squish, I guess you're pushing it up against the bowl or whatever, but it's not like a
Sure.
pneumatic or
I could see
hydraulic
how-
pressure like we're using these days.
I can see how both sides could claim though that like, that was my tech or whatever, because it was like I discovered that, or it's like I discovered the heat part. Well, I discovered the squish part. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So
And
but-
Soil Grown was doing it with the high grade, but maybe not high grade, but bubble hash.
sure. That leads me to another question. Let's talk about strains. Since you guys basically bubble everything before you wash it, is there a return on the bubble that you need to see before it's even worth like squishing for you or making a reality that's worth your while? And also, let's talk strains versus terps. Like, is there a terp that washes well or strains that washes well, if you will? I mean, I know there is, but what are some strains that you guys crush with, and what are some strains that don't work well?
For sure, Mason.
Mason, you
I
want to
mean,
take any of this?
yeah, our best ones are either that Chem Dog or that Dayglow. That Dayglow is one of my favorites. A really good citrusy, orangey terp that you don't really see too much of, and it just dumps if it's grown really well.
What's dumping? What's like percentage wise or whatever?
I mean, we just hit 7% for the first time ever the other day. Normally we would 6.2 or
Chem
so
or the
on the Dayglow.
Okay.
Yep. Which we were kind of surprised about. But normally that's an average of like 5.6 to 6.2 or so. And that's our highest one. The Chem Dogs, that's second there, probably around the same, maybe 5.2.
Chem can yield that high. And we've seen stuff from, hobby washes or stuff we grow in small amounts just to do tests for new genetics. And this definitely, it's a crazy strain specific thing, but like you said, does a certain terp wash? That's a really good question because a lot of the strains that wash fall into like categories of like terp profiles that express well, that were the terpenes that the plant expresses and whatever compounds occur with whatever terps
Right.
seem to coexist with that trichomen, helping it maintain its integrity or not having an action that harms the integrity of the trike. Because if you you remember lemon G,
Yeah.
that slime, it's the slime resin, absolute so greasy slime.
Grease stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, the terps at the actual green parts of the bud and the brock like secrete or whatever. I don't know how it works, but it's crazy. And that shit it's like D-limonene, which is in your fucking Guggen. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like a super caustic chemical. So that's why there's not a prayer in hell that you're gonna wash some lemon G and it's gonna do anything in the water. That D-limonene, as soon as it hits the water, it has an entirely different synergistic effect with the water and the trichome. But the trichomes, with any agitation, are just going to explode into smithereens like a grape with no skin on it.
Right.
That's all juice. It'll
And that's specific to the terp.
exactly. So stuff that is, and then you get the spectrum. Something that has a little bit of that lemon G terp. Maybe you'll be able to harvest some heads still that keep their integrity, but also you get a little bit of expression of that cool terp. So that's why it's such a crazy terrain for that.
Let's say there's not a whole lot of haze hash out there, and I would say like maybe, you know, like Hayes Terp essentially is not a good Terp because like you just don't see it. Like,
Same action. A lot of those super
Very
caustic and like
greasy.
yeah, and that grease and kind of slime characteristic that some strains produce in their resins. Yeah, it's weird because they're not all D-limonene, but I guess there are just as many others that are essentially caustic or very strong solvents in
Sure.
themselves. And like I said, lots of terps are used as industrial solvents.
so when you look at a strain, other than smelling and, you know, identifying certain terps, you might know right away this probably isn't going to wash well. But what's the benchmark where you guys say like we're going to do this or we're not going to do this? If I gave you a strain and it was the firest shit ever, you know what I mean, but it didn't really wash well, like where would you say it's not worth it? At what percentage?
Depends on how much I'm trying to grow. If I'm only growing it for the head, if it's fire enough, I'll wash it even if it does like a 1.5%.
Does I say 1-2%? You're still doing it, but nothing commercial, obviously.
I don't even know of a strain that tastes that good. If Skittles only did 1 or 2%, I'd probably still be like, run it. 'Cause,
Right.
man.
I think it does like 3% though, does
Yeah,
it?
I
It's,
think
so
you
it's
could
right
do
there.
3,
It's
4. I think it would like to hit its full potential. You would want to run it through multiple different medias and nutrient lines, a whole shebang.
totally.
Who's got the time and money to do that, right?
Well, that's it. You guys getting material from all over the place, and I don't know if you do actually, but where is the majority of your material coming from? Is it just from your own grows, or do you have some go-to grows that give you guys material? And kind
all
of tell us how
in-house.
Sappy
All
operates. 100% in-house.
Yeah, all Sappy Gardens.
Yeah. Is all your sales done at Dab, or are you guys wholesale outside of the Dab?
Yeah, we're the Dab and
the
Silver
Dab in
Peak
downtown.
exclusive.
So exclusive to the Silver Peaks
Peak
chain.
family.
Yeah.
And yeah, Silver Peak just has one location up in Aspen, and then the Dab downtown and the Dab.
Definitely.
And we move it all through there.
Yep.
I was gonna say, can you give us like a top, I don't know, 3 strains that you like washing or like? I'm sure this audience, being kind of a seed audience, is probably wondering like, what seeds should I buy? I don't care if it's any breeder, you know, what seed should I buy to try to get some really good washing strains or whatever. I get asked this a lot, so we always try to pass our strains to somebody like you guys to get a wash on. But at the same time, you know, if you guys are running shit all day long, what's the superstars in the hash world right now as far as strains?
I mean, the Dayglow, like I said, from us, but then on the side, like if you got good Animal Mints is a favorite of ours. That Wedding Cake
The
washes
Cushmans,
really well.
The Cushmans throws down low key.
What about GMO?
Oh, GMO.
Oh, yeah,
is
GMOs.
The hash superstar.
Yeah, it
I've heard
does.
stories of homies
That's
hitting
kind of what I thought.
8,
yeah.
9, 10%, and that I could talk for another 20 minutes about that because
What about
it's
OGs?
great.
OGs hit?
OGs rarely hit.
Rarely
A
hit.
couple
Rarely.
do. Like it's one of those things you're
If you really
rolling
like
the
the strain, you're
lottery
gonna grow
of
it.
trichome expression, and then even then, I still have a hunch that you'll see markedly different results if you try the whole different media, different new. You know what I mean? It's
Right.
such a crapshoot.
How often are you guys mixing strains together when you squish, or mixing bubble together? Do you mix the bubble together, you know, when you press, or are you just, you know, whipping it together after the fact? Or like I see hash makers mix shit up together and then call it a name or whatever, and it's like, okay, so you guys combined all this together.
Right.
It's almost like breeding, but you're just using all the extracts or the terps and creating your own mixtures. Explain that process a little bit to me.
I say
Like,
we do it not very often because
Yeah, we try to stay pretty strain specific.
Well, and the thing behind that is mainly to let the person who has whatever grams of hash decide the ratio and like make their own mixes. And it's like then you can make infinite mixes if you have all the sappy flavors as strain specific. But you're right where it totally does bring in a different character if you like intermingle these strains in the water where the water is still a solvent. That's another discussion that you could go on forever. It's sure it's a solventless process and the water doesn't act on the head that you collect in the like so the end product hasn't been acted as much as a solvent on as what
Right.
you have actually lost to the water, which is
why do
some
you
terps.
call it a solvent though? I mean, it's not
Can I say something?
good. We can't hear you, Caesar, but I'll repeat it.
I was told that the water is a medium versus a solvent.
So Caesar's
Right.
saying the water is a medium versus a solvent,
Well, and so
or he was told that.
basically the old theory is, and it's funny because I do consider it a solventless process. It's like, yeah, it's kind of a misnomer if you want to get technical about it. But so you could call it a medium. You could technically call it a carrying agent. I always thought that sounded unscientific, but it seems to be a fairly common phrase to call it a carrying agent.
Sure.
But water is a solvent. So many things dissolve in it. So many things are solutes in water. Salt, which is a million things, sugar. So it's the universal solvent. It's people's argument who are like, dude, of course you're using a solvent as water. But it doesn't act on the trichome heads that you're collecting. Like it acts on it. It might strip some kind of terpenes or some layer of the trichome, but you're still retrieving an intact trichome head. You can look at it under a scope, but you can just see it when you scoop the hash
Right.
in the bags.
That's the goal.
So those are things that the water really hasn't acted strongly as a solvent on.
Versus like
said,
sugar or something.
well, and so pieces of the bud for sure do. Like some strains do have the D-limonene, and you won't get it as strongly because a lot gets lost to the water. So the water has acted as a solvent on some of those oils, but not the actual trichome itself. It's a weird thing how the terps do seem to express inside the oils in the trichome head, inside the walls of the membranes, but also in the green parts of the bud too. So I don't know if they're the same ratios of like, you know what I mean? It'd be crazy to get a test of that.
Yeah,
To be like,
interesting.
because you wouldn't get a good test if you were testing water hash because you've already put it through the solute, you know what I mean? The solvent in that sense.
Sure.
Ah, so funny to think of
Interesting.
water as a solvent.
Yeah.
But it's a super.
Yeah, I almost will never consider it, but I guess I follow your logic on that. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah.
non-specific.
All right, so let's talk tips and tricks or something. I'm sure there's a couple guys out here who've never squished, or a majority of the people watching this have probably never squished or pressed anything in their life. What is the cheapest, simplest little way that these guys can get started? I mean, you're not really hucking products here or whatever, but if you had any tips or anything to start making rosin, where do you start?
Well, start with what this guy said. I agree. Water is a solvent, but people don't call it that to not mix things up for noobs.
That's Mossy222 in the chat, and Mossy is a smart man.
Yeah, it's
Mossy will argue
that's
with
how it
anybody and everybody, but he's usually right.
Yeah, that's what's up. Like I said, it's so convoluted, and the answer is so long-winded that it's like, no, really, the part that you get from it had a solvent act on it very much.
Sure. But yeah, back to my question real quick.
yeah.
How do you start something, or maybe throw it to you, Mason? Do you have any ideas for? Do you guys press at home? I mean, because here's one thing we talk about briefly is like you can't make BHO at home, dude. You're gonna get a fucking controlled substance charge if they come and catch you or whatever. You got a closed loop in your house, like it's a big fucking deal. But you are allowed to make rosin in your home. You know what I mean? All
Yeah.
you're literally doing is plugging in some plates and getting a press from Harbor Freight or some shit. And, you know what I mean? You can make rosin yourself, but I don't know nothing about it. So if you were going to start, if I was going to come to you and say, Mason, I want to set a rosin press up in the studio, how would we start?
I mean, it all starts in your grow. You have to, it all comes from the grow. The material you start with definitely determines the quality of the rosin, how much you're going to get out of whatever you grow. And depends on the scale. So, yeah, you harvest maybe 6 plants or so. You get a little heady stash for yourself for sure.
Do I want to dry this weed out like super dry,
No.
or how do I want to dry
So
this
you're
weed?
definitely going to want to, at your harvest time, you're just going to bag it up and toss it in the freezer, and get it fresh frozen. Get it in the freezer and get it ready to be washed. And then from there, if you get some bags or something like that, order bags online. We use bold bags and ice extracts. And
when you mean bags, you put your material in a bag when you press it on the plates, correct? Or are you talking bubble bags?
no, we're talking about like
Wash bags.
Yeah, wash
Wash
bags.
bags,
Yeah.
okay.
Then there's a whole middle process between pressing it on the plates and starting out.
Gotcha.
You got to wash that and collect it and then dry it all out, get all the water out of it so it can go through that press without moisture in there.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so from there, like he said, you just fresh freeze a small amount of weed, break it down, learn to wash. There's tons of YouTube videos, tons of hash makers like us who you ask them a question, they'll tell you what's up.
How to wash.
And then from there, you take the hash, put it in some mesh bags. It's another process. Tons of info out there. So that's one of the things with water hash now. It's like, if you're real passionate about this stuff and you really
out
want to
there.
learn, yeah, you can learn for sure.
Where's a good resource for anybody who's really interested in this stuff? Where can people learn other than my dumbass questions? Like, is there like a super good hash forum or something?
Man, Instagram is a
Yeah,
crazy forum.
Insta's where I see everything.
Insta. Yeah.
Um,
Deal with the trolls, but the info's out there.
And I'm repping the Low Temp boys again. They have a bunch of videos on their Insta page. They squish flour straight from trim.
What's their Instagram page? Do you know it off the top of your head?
Just Low Temp
At,
plates.
at low temp
At
plates.
low temp
Just one
plates,
word
yeah.
all across.
Yeah.
At low temp plates.
Yeah, Low
Yeah,
Temp.
check them out. Ask
Shout out
them
to them.
questions because I don't know the answers, guys. You can hit up Sappy too at Sappy Brands and ask them some questions. I might piss them off with that.
You
but-
can tell that I just keep going when I get asked a hash question. I never know when to stop. So ask away, guys.
Cool. Any specific does it matter? Because you're only buying the plates from these guys, correct? Does it matter any tonnage or anything when I'm trying to get a press? Can I just get a tabletop one, or do I need one of these big ass things I see, you know what I mean, from Harbor Freight? Or does the
definitely
low temp
don't
guys
need
sell
it.
the whole fucking kit?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can get the whole entire the pressure providing device and the cage that the plates sit in with the mechanism that moves them up and down.
Oh, they got it all ready to go for you.
Oh yeah, and
So-
there's we said, we like Pure Pressure. We've used them. Rosin Tech is another great company out there that lots of people have great success with their products. But yeah, Low Temp, they're our guys.
Cool.
They're homies.
What getting down to the last 10 minutes. I want to give away some seeds here in a minute, but we have a few minutes left. We'll open it up to any questions in the chat. If you guys have any rosin specific washing questions, non-solvent questions, we'll take a peek, fire them off, and we'll start spitting them out. I'm going to queue up the next giveaway here, which we'll do Caesars. We did green dot now, or you did orange dot?
Yeah, do green.
So Caesar's giveaway, which was going to be green dot, on his mystery surprise pack that he hasn't revealed any information about yet at all. You're going to have to send an email to, see a question in there that you want to answer, John, fire away.
Yeah, you're way closer to that than I am.
Caesar, you can read some out
And
if
I'm
you want
blind
to
as a
also.
bat.
Best way to dry water hash without a freeze dryer.
Best way to dry water hash without a freeze dryer.
Yeah, Mossy's correct too. You don't really need it unless you're doing weight. Yeah, I agree. You could do a big amount without a freeze dryer too. Either way, you're doing microplaning or sieving the wet hash. You gotta get it really thin on parchment on some kind of tray. Or people used to use pizza boxes with parchment on them, and you'll put that in a temperature and humidity controlled environment. It takes anywhere from 2 to 10, 15 days, depending on
Where you live.
the environment you put it in exactly, and the texture of the resin. It's a much more involved process, much more prone to leaving moisture and thus exposure to other pathogens with the trapped moisture. But it's a way to go. And if you smoke the hash quick, it won't go bad.
What's your favorite all-time best return strain? Caesar, what's the code word and the number of
GMO's God.
person? What?
GMO.
You can't use the same one. It can confuse the shit out of me.
10% return.
10% return, says Caesar. So you got to write 10% return, Dark Horse Genetics Live at gmail.com. In the subject line, 10% return. You'll win this mystery green dot pack from TH Caesar. And Mason or John, best favorite all-time return strain?
Like Mason said,
Yeah.
that Dayglow is up there.
You guys keep saying
for
Dayglow.
Sappy.
Dayglow.
Yeah, that's a Sappy exclusive. You can get it from a few other people that have it now, but that originated at our place. But on top of that, there's, like you were saying, what should people grow? Pretty much anything with chem in the genetics is usually a good starting point. Chem strains really tend to wash well. GMO, a lot of people will shout out the GMO. Like Caesar said, 10%.
That's definitely
straight
a
up.
good starter.
We've heard of it doing that. It depends on your water weight at harvest. We've talked about that sometimes.
Gotcha.
But
Here's a question about dry ice in the water while making bubble to keep it at temp. You got something you ever mess with?
what was it? Ice and water?
It says, can you use dry
Dry
ice in the
ice.
water while making bubble to keep it at temp?
We never have.
You could. It's
I mean, you
not.
burn
so
the shit out of yourself
there-
potentially.
there can be like trace industrial like petroleums and weird solvents that they use in the production of that shit.
Of dry ice.
Yeah, so if you have it like directly exposed in the water that the weed's getting washed in, it can be, I don't know, it's not necessarily the most sanitary or the least contaminated, but I don't know. Most of it's probably pretty pure. If you were really hard pressed, you could drop like a little chunk of it. It would probably keep it colder, but it's gonna start bubbling like crazy. You could use it in a double boiler type
Sure.
cooling.
Let me ask you this, since it's not necessarily a favorite strain, but do you have a favorite terp, as we talked about, to wash, whatever? Is there one that you're like, I love washing this particular terp?
That's Skittles, man.
Yeah.
So
Skittles.
anything with the Z in it.
It's just
Lots of
super tasty.
We've had some OZ Kush. That demo. Shout out to
Sure,
demo.
Sure.
Pheno of OZ.
Demo grow.
It yielded like nothing. Oh my god.
That's the way it goes. The best shit
worth
yields
it.
nothing,
It was so
right?
worth it, yeah.
Yeah, we have a few minutes. You guys want to show and tell anything? We didn't even tell the people the entire episode what they're looking at on the screen. It's sort of fuzzy and shit.
Which one is it? Again?
But yeah, what is that?
Oh, that's that sour garlic cookies, #1, the Bloom Seed Co. selection.
Okay, sour garlic cookies.
Yeah, that shit's bomb.
What else did you guys bring that we can show off?
We got some. Ooh, this is a buddy of mine selected this. This is selected this. Wow, it's modified mints from Sin City Seed Company.
Okay.
That one's
GMO
definitely one
to
of
Sin
my
Mint
favorite, too.
cookies. Man, GMO. You make us. You would think we just are obsessed with GMO. I got the sour dub to GMO and the Sin Mint or the.
I should have
the
heated it
Sin
up a
Mint
little
cookie.
bit.
Here's some wedding cake.
And the color, I mean, I've seen all different kinds of colors of hash or whatever, or of rosin. I mean, it seems to be getting whiter and whiter as we go. Is there any, particular better when you're buying rosin and you're looking at it as a noob? Is there anything that you're looking for?
Yeah, so you definitely don't want to see something too dark or super amber or brown is no good.
This one, what was this one again?
That's the modified mints.
Yeah, this one smells great.
Sin Mint blue, GMO. I always think it's blue power to GMO, but it's definitely Sin Mint cookies to GMO.
And that has only been finger pressed. That hasn't been exposed to anything.
Yeah, these
extreme
are
amount
actually
of heat.
water hash.
Yeah.
We didn't press anything because we were low on time. But so these, if you press these into rosin, it would basically maintain that same color that you were seeing on the
Really?
camera there.
Yeah,
That's
that's
just
just
water,
90.
huh?
Yeah, it's
90.
It's just 90U.
I've never had anything close to that on my bullshit 90 or
Yeah,
whatever
it's-
washes. Is there a secret to washing? I've seen guys that like have a broomstick that will like very slightly agitate the shit out of it, and I've seen guys that are like got a drill and they're just fucking going for it. You know what I mean? Like you
Again,
got,
it all starts at the starting material.
Yep.
If you have a good grow, if you have good material thrown into that water and ice, you can slap that around and you'll pull out some really nice hash from
Straight
there.
up. Yeah, you got to be somewhat mindful of your,
What's that one?
agitation. That's that wedding cake. But yeah, stuff that's gonna yield, it's usually just got the right characteristics, physics-wise, to maintain integrity to be extracted in the water. Yeah, that's that wedding cake. That's just 90U, finger pressed, from a high-quality garden.
sorry, this camera's.
And
not
this is
the
some
best.
stuff we grew ourselves. We didn't have. Well, that batter we showed you, that was from Sappy Gardens too.
Yeah, this here batter.
There it goes. Oh, I'm trying to get a sexy shot, but
Yeah,
it doesn't
it-
want to cooperate.
And
Yeah,
it's
it looks
super
dope.
tasty stuff.
Hell yeah. Oh shit, we've only got a few minutes left. Do you guys want to shout anybody out, or obviously your material or all your stuff's at Sappy? Do you guys have a fresh drop coming up, or anything new coming up that you're excited
We got
about?
coming out this Friday.
Yeah, we got some of that sour garlic cookies, so that'll be cool. That hasn't been released on the shelf in a minute. We drop every Saturday. This week we'll also have a little bit of trop cookies.
Oh, you do it every Saturday. I didn't know
Oh,
that.
yeah.
So every
Yeah,
Saturday
every
you guys
week
are dropping.
we get a little bit of
Downtown,
product
and I'll
out.
make-
It depends
and I'll
on the
meet it.
week. Like we were talking about how crazy the different yields are and different strains and returns from wash and from rosin. It varies how much we drop every week, but we definitely get something out.
Very cool. Cool guys. I really appreciate you guys coming
Yeah,
on.
thanks
First
for
hash
having us
guys
over.
that came over. I'm sure probably just scratched the surface. I can dig into some of these topics and get a little bit more technical or whatever. But yeah, we'd love to have you guys back and teach more about pressing or whatever. And yeah, I don't know. I love hash. I also didn't really get to touch the pens too much, but I want to talk about pens in the future
Definitely.
because I smoke the shit out of them pens when I travel.
Yeah,
and
we
it's
can bring
always
some of those
non-solvent
through
for
for
me.
sure.
But yeah, once again, thanks to the Sappy guys. We're gonna have to sign this fucker off before we get kicked off. But same bat time next week, same bat channel, and throw a like and subscribe. And also check out Illuminar, the only semi-sponsor we have on this show. Hooked us up with a bunch of lights, so I tell everybody check them out. Get your flash updated. And peace.
Premium.